Welcome to lecture number 35. Today we're going to go over historical topic 4.7, the expanding democracy. The theme for this topic is politics and power. The learning objective says, explain the causes and effects of the expansion of participatory democracy from 1800 to 1848. There is just one key concept that says, the nation's transition to a more participatory democracy was achieved by expanding suffrage from a system based on property ownership to one based on voting by all adult white men, and it was accompanied by the growth of political parties. In order for the expansion of suffrage, an egalitarian culture had to emerge. That is, one in which everyone is seen as an equal despite how much money or property one has, and alternatively, how much money or property one doesn't have. There's a big caveat to the egalitarian culture that emerges, and that is that it's really only applicable to the white male population. Women still do not have the right to vote, and are even further restricted in the legal system of coverture. Coverture made women wards of their nearest male relation, whether that be their husband, father, brother, and in some cases their eldest son. Women were not able to enter into contracts, own property, or work without the consent of their closest male relation. Slavery is also still practiced in much of the country, and egalitarian values won't extend to them in this period. However, for white males, the growth of an egalitarian culture will lead to the new states created in this period to leave out property owning requirements for voting from their constitution. Older states amend their constitutions or pass new voting laws that grant the right to vote to white males without meeting a property owning requirement. The difference in the returns for the 1824 and 1840 election illustrate the rise in the number of eligible voters. In 1824, only 350,000 votes were cast, while in 1840 about 2.4 million were cast. Population growth was happening at the same time, but it was not as impactful in increasing the number of voters. The rate of increase of the population was 100% growth every 25 years, and the increase in voters was 700% over 15 years. The new culture of egalitarianism and participation in government is seen in the three paintings here that are done by George Caleb Bingham. They are often used to portray how democracy was growing in the age of the common man. Egalitarian culture is on display as the people gathered around in these paintings are of various economic backgrounds, yet they share the same space willingly. There are some dressed in very fine clothes, sitting right next to people who are dressed in more common clothes, while taking part in this participatory democracy. The large panel on the bottom is called the Stump Speech. In it, the gathered crowd are there to hear a politician speak and ask for their vote. The two paintings above show what the voting process was like in this era of expanding democracy. The panel on the left is titled The County Election. Voting was much more of a spectacle than what we are familiar with. Usually voting would happen at a courthouse in the county seat. Given that there were fewer voting locations, people would gather outside their polling place for the entire day, debating who they would vote for and partake in drinking alcoholic beverages. The panel on the right is the announcement of the results. In all three of these paintings, democracy is portrayed as a large communal event that a lot of people participate in regardless of income, but the people that are absent from it are women, enslaved people, or people of color. One of the effects of the expansion of democracy was the creation of new political parties. They were the vehicles for people to express their political beliefs, and once in government crafted policy along ideological lines. The first two parties were the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans. This historical period begins with the decline of the Federalist Party as a result of the War of 1812. Federalists were opposed to the war for several reasons. One reason was their preference for closer diplomatic ties to England. In their view, the war was dragging on, and Federalist states were continuing to be hurt by the diminishing trade caused by the war. Federalists come together in Connecticut at the Hartford Convention and propose changes to the Constitution that would prevent another such war from occurring. The problem was that one of the resolutions they adopted concerned secession, and it was not well received by the general public, especially as the war was coming to a close. The Federalist Party loses national support and runs its last presidential candidate in the election of 1816. The Democratic-Republican Party dominates national elections through 1824. The period is sometimes referred to as the era of good feelings, since national politics were generally stable with one party in power. In 1824, the party breaks up as a result of the presidential election, when Andrew Jackson feels he is robbed of the presidency, despite not getting a majority of the electoral votes. In the event no one candidate receives a majority of the electoral vote, the race is decided by the House of Representatives. The Speaker of the House, Henry Clay, builds a coalition of states that award the presidency to John Quincy Adams, who came in second in the election. Henry Clay is then nominated as Secretary of State in the Adams administration. Jackson called the dealing between Adams and Clay the corrupt bargain. He held on to a personal grudge against both and vowed revenge. He created the Democratic Party to run again in 1828 and defeats Adams outright, without the need of a tie-breaking vote by the House. His election in 1828 meant the end to the Democratic-Republican Party and to a new party that will stand in opposition to Jackson. The Whig Party is officially founded in 1833, but its leader Henry Clay had been active in promoting its positions through the 1820s. He will draw the support of former Democratic Republicans who accused Jackson of using too much federal power. The name of the Whig Party was original to England. It was the party that stood in opposition to too much monarchical power. The name itself was a criticism of Jackson, and he was often portrayed as a king in Whig political cartoons. The one on the slide calls him King Andrew I. One important caveat about the Whig Party is that while they opposed the exercise of what they called tyrannical power by Jackson, the Whig Party was generally associated with the expansion of the role of the federal government. Clay's own American system can be used as evidence to show they viewed the federal government as partly responsible for helping the economy grow. In this new age of democracy and competitive elections, there is an increase in participation from the common person. Voting turnout increases as a result of an expanded electorate, but also as a result of the campaigning process of elections. There is more campaigning, and when there's more campaigning, there is also more negative campaigning, or mudslinging. During the 1828 campaign, Andrew Jackson's wife was called an adulteress, since she had been married before and unknowingly married Jackson when her previous marriage was not officially terminated. Very shortly after Jackson's victory, she died, and he blamed her death on the mudslinging of the campaign, holding Adams and Clay personally responsible. Another element of this new party system is the strengthening of party loyalty. It is fostered through the spoils system that rewards party supporters with positions in government. Alright, here is the recap. Voting rights expanded for adult white men nationwide, thus more people participated in politics, and a new two-party system emerges, now between the Whigs and the Democrats. Thank you for watching. If you would like to watch the next lecture, you can click on the video link on the screen, and if you're looking for more practice to help you on the AP exam, you can visit APUSHslides.com. I wish you the very best in all of your studying, and look forward to seeing you back on the next lecture.